This is going to be a long form video. Look, the whole reason to post publicly is for viewers. I don't feel comfortable with 1,500 people watching one of my shorts, even though I know most of them, if not all of them, probably just happened upon it, just watched for a few seconds. But I don't feel comfortable. I feel like I have to perform. I feel like I have to watch what I say. And I can be more effective as far as documenting and recalling events if I'm just vibing. So I just got myself some Burger King, and ever since the night when somebody opened my vehicle and put a drink cup, every time I go through the Burger King drive-through, I remember feeling like, first off, someone did drive by in a truck or whatever and shout something out, but that happens constantly everywhere I go because we're a small city. And I did feel like I had been followed there, but what am I going to do? That's not something that I could prove, and even if I could prove it, unless I had an officer in front of me and an officer behind me, we can't catch these people, especially if they have the skills to avoid detection. They know what to do, they know what not to do. Everybody, when you do something, you know how to, get things done a certain way or not get them done. If somebody really pisses me off, you are not going to get your food because I have the right to refuse service, and everybody in every industry knows how to, we're not slaves. So right now I was picking up some Burger King, even though I had decided I was no longer going to eat after 6 o'clock. I have not eaten all day, so, except for a light breakfast. I didn't have lunch or dinner, and that interferes with my workouts. You cannot build muscle, train, if you will, if you're starving your body. So I made the choice to go ahead and grab some Burger King. And I'm at the window and I hear a man shout out something like, "Kill yourself already." And then a truck, an old beat up work truck that was parked at the Mexican restaurant next door, or he was just driving through the parking lot and he recognized me. He had a flag sticker with the thin blue line on it. You guys forget that you have those stickers, and that really helps me out when it comes to documenting and identifying and recognizing things. So I wanted to address that. That is a very strong statement, very hateful, and I don't know how to take it. Is it your goal to make me commit suicide? Do I sound suicidal? Do I present as somebody that would self-delete? I don't think we're supposed to say the S word. Maybe I could beat that out. So either somebody had a little bit too much to drink, or they just had one and they were feeling particularly upset about things that are happening in the law enforcement community because of ICE and because of my writings in the general climate regarding law enforcement nationwide, especially the Uvalde verdict recently. People are I would imagine that person was feeling sensitive. Maybe that person just wanted my attention. Maybe that person has been affected personally. I'm good. Excuse me. I have trouble swallowing because of the permanent damage to my throat the night that I was poisoned at the Castle Manor Apartments by maintenance who walked in unannounced for no reason and sprayed some sort of chemical. It's that chemical that's used in vehicles. Anyway, I'm a very positive person, and you might think, well, you have a history of this, you have a history of that. First off, no, I don't. I have a nutritional deficiency, which does not mean that my parents starved me or that I wasn't smart enough to walk to the refrigerator and eat. I have a missing protein, and it has always affected me. And now I'm actually even questioning whether or not I was borderline diabetic even as a teen. And nutritional deficiencies affect your brain, your development, your mental health, everything about you. You are what you eat. So at one time, I did seek the help of a psychiatrist, but this was after I gave birth to my children. And postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and I do not claim to be any sort of an expert, but I have given birth to 4 children. And all 4 times I struggled, and it was also situational. For example, my last daughter, I gave birth to her absolutely alone. Not even my mother was with me. And my husband had just gone to prison. So yeah, that would stress anybody out. So, I sought the help of a psychiatrist, which is what anyone should do, even women who are quote unquote just going through postpartum, because it's the same treatment. You see the same doctors and they assist you as best as they can. So I do not fault the psychiatric community for treating me with medication, which may or may not have helped. However, that's not a starting point. A starting point is you check your health, baseline health, and then you go from there across the board, and that was never done. It was never done. And then I was introduced to Adderall, and that's a story for another time. So, I do not have ADD or whatever they prescribe Adderall for. I don't have trouble focusing. I don't have trouble reading. And I don't have any sort of mental illness. I was diagnosed as having multiple mental illnesses by Robert Berlin, who actually has severe mental illness. So it absolutely does not count. Nobody else had ever diagnosed me with, these bizarre mental illnesses. And he told my daughter, who was also his client, his only female client, he told her, "There's something wrong with your mom, but I don't know what it is." So, if you cannot diagnose me, with something specific, you can't go looking there is something wrong with you and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. You have to demonstrate the evidence. And my daughter only told me this recently. She didn't tell me this when she was a child. And he should not have said that to my daughter if he in fact felt that was true. Now, as far as Dr. Capitan was a good doctor. He made several mistakes, and he was over-medicating just about all of his clients. He was famous for that. And he did prescribe medication to women, to me, to get me addicted to it, so he could then leverage that addiction into a sexual relationship with him. So yes, he did, it was gonna go there. It's not, you know, I thought he was sincerely interested in me, of course, and come to find, who knows how many women that he manipulated in that way. And he did love his dancers. I believe the girl that he lost his license because of was a dancer. It might have just been a rumor. And I want to point out the fact that as a gift to me from the psychiatric community, he lost his license on my birthday. On my birthday, and I posted a picture at the beach, and the title of that picture is On the Day I Was Born, I Won.